In this video, we'll review compound inequalities in one variable. What is the difference between and versus or? And what is the meaning of notation that looks like -4 is less than or equal to x is less than 3? We'll start with an inequality that has or. We're going to solve for x, and this came from Khan Academy. And we have a compound inequality, -8x plus 14 is greater than or equal to 60, or -4x plus 50 is less than 58. So I'm going to start with the first inequality that was given. I'm just going to work on solving this one first. So let's get the variable by itself. Let's subtract 14 from both sides. We get 8x is greater than or equal to 46. Now, to get the variable by itself, we're going to divide both sides by -8. But because we've noticed when we divide by a negative, we end up with a false statement because we practiced this in class, then we know that to divide by a negative, we really have to change the direction of the inequality. So we get x is less than or equal to -46/8. Now 46/8 can be divided. The fraction can be simplified by dividing numerator and denominator by 2. We get x is less than or equal to -23/4. Okay, so we've solved that first inequality, but then there's this word that says or. So there's a second piece to this inequality that we must go ahead and solve. Let's subtract 50 from both sides of the inequality, and we get -4x is less than 8. Now to get x by itself, we have to divide by -4, remembering when we divide an inequality by a negative, or multiply by a negative for that matter, the direction of the inequality changes. So we end up with x is greater than -2. And we have the solution that works is A, x is less than or equal to -23/4, or x is greater than -2. And to think about what this would look like on a number line, we would have -23/4 on a number line. It's some negative number that's less than -2. So one part of this inequality would have a filled-in circle at -23/4, and numbers less than that would be included in the solution set. Or another part of this solution set is an open circle at -2, and numbers strictly greater than it. So that's how we handle compound inequality with the word or. Now let's look at one with and. And we're going to go about this the same way. We'll solve the first inequality by isolating the variable. Let's subtract 7 from both sides. Let's divide both sides by 12. Now I'm not dividing by a negative, so therefore my inequality can remain less than, and I get x is less than -3/2 because I've simplified that. So that's one piece of this. But at the same time, the word and means both things have to occur simultaneously for it to have a solution. So now we're going to solve the second one. Let's add 8 to both sides. Let's divide both sides by 5. Notice I have not divided by a negative, so my direction of my inequality stays as x is greater than or equal to 48/5. So there is no solution that I can find among the choices that has the word and. However, choice B looks like an and situation at first glance because that's what that notation means. But when you really look at this carefully and read from the x, one piece of this would be x is greater than -3/2. Now that checks out, right? But the other piece does not check out. The other piece says x is less than or equal to 48/5. We had x is greater than or equal to 48/5. They are not the same. So I'm inclined to think there are no solutions to this inequality. Let's look at it on a number line. And let's think one of these endpoints is going to be negative, and that's the -3/2. And I'd have an open circle at -3/2 and everything to the left, right, because it's less than. The other endpoint, of course, 0 would be in between a negative and a positive, but then I have a positive endpoint at 48/5. I have a colored in circle and numbers to the right. Remember we said that when the word is and in between the two inequalities, both things must be true. You cannot have a solution where a number is both less than -3/2 and greater than or equal to 48/5 at the same time. Therefore, there are no solutions to this compound inequality.